Rental applications often starts with a detail people overlook. A familiar how rental applications work example is when an applicant submits personal details, employment information, and references. The landlord is deciding whether to trust a stranger with a property. The form turns interest into a screening process. People often feel pressure around how rental applications work before they can explain where it came from. The situation is easier to judge when the form turns interest into a screening process is treated as a likely effect, not a mystery. Rental applications becomes clearer in a concrete situation. In how rental applications work, the real-world version may be that the application usually starts before the lease. Approval comes first, then final terms are signed. Confusing application with lease can create false certainty. This is the detail that changes what to check next in how rental applications work. A person who catches this early can respond before confusing application with lease can create false certainty becomes harder to reverse. Rental applications changes the decision before anyone names it. It shows up in small moments, such as when identity verification protects the transaction. A landlord may check documents to confirm who is applying. Property access and financial responsibility require clear identity. Noticing that driver early can keep how rental applications work from becoming harder to manage. For how rental applications work, the real sequence matters more than the most dramatic detail. Rental applications has a cost that appears later. Look at a case where income details show affordability. Pay slips or bank records help estimate whether rent fits the budget. The landlord wants evidence beyond verbal confidence. The headline alone does not show the whole chain behind how rental applications work. That difference matters because the landlord wants evidence beyond verbal confidence is often where the pain or cost is felt. Rental applications depends on timing as much as facts. A concrete version is when rental history shows reliability. Previous landlords may confirm payment habits and property care. Past behavior is treated as a clue about future tenancy. The background force should guide the next decision in how rental applications work more than the first reaction. The situation is easier to judge when past behavior is treated as a clue about future tenancy is treated as a likely effect, not a mystery. Rental applications can look simple from outside. In a normal day, credit checks measure financial patterns. Missed payments or heavy debt may raise questions. Credit is only one part of the picture but can influence trust. In how rental applications work, the clearer reading follows the cause instead of stopping at the visible result. A person who catches this early can respond before credit is only one part of the picture but can influence trust becomes harder to reverse. Rental applications creates pressure in ordinary life. Picture the situation where application fees may cover screening costs. Background checks and processing can cost money. Renters should know whether the fee is refundable. The moment becomes easier to handle when the moving part is named clearly in how rental applications work. For how rental applications work, the real sequence matters more than the most dramatic detail. Rental applications is shaped by rules and incentives. The clearest version is when multiple applicants can compete for one unit. A landlord may compare timing, income, references, and move-in readiness. Approval can depend on market pressure as well as qualifications. That mechanism explains why the topic affects real choices in how rental applications work. That difference matters because approval can depend on market pressure as well as qualifications is often where the pain or cost is felt. Rental applications becomes risky when assumptions replace evidence. In how rental applications work, someone may notice that incomplete applications slow decisions. Missing documents create extra questions. Prepared renters can move faster when a good property appears. Seeing the cause early gives people more room to respond well in how rental applications work. The situation is easier to judge when prepared renters can move faster when a good property appears is treated as a likely effect, not a mystery. Rental applications is easier to handle when the moving parts are visible. Watch what happens when honesty matters during screening. Hiding pets, occupants, or income issues can break trust later. False information can lead to denial or lease problems. In how rental applications work, the visible event can distract from the driver that needs attention. A person who catches this early can respond before false information can lead to denial or lease problems becomes harder to reverse. Rental applications has both a visible side and a quieter side. How rental applications work becomes concrete when co-signers can strengthen an application. Someone with stronger income may guarantee payment. The co-signer takes real financial responsibility. When how rental applications work appears in real life, this is the detail to check first. For how rental applications work, the real sequence matters more than the most dramatic detail. Rental applications can turn small choices into larger consequences. For example, landlords should apply standards consistently. Fair screening reduces discrimination and confusion. Different treatment without reason can create legal and ethical problems. In how rental applications work, this is the point where the visible choice and the real pressure start to meet. That difference matters because different treatment without reason can create legal and ethical problems is often where the pain or cost is felt. Rental applications rewards preparation more than guessing. In real life, approval may come with conditions. A higher deposit, guarantor, or prepaid rent may be requested. Conditions are the landlord's way of managing perceived risk. That is why how rental applications work should be read through facts rather than a quick assumption. The situation is easier to judge when conditions are the landlord's way of managing perceived risk is treated as a likely effect, not a mystery. Rental applications can be misunderstood when people focus on one number. Think about how being denied should come with clarity when possible. The renter needs to know whether income, credit, timing, or references were the issue. Clear reasons help applicants correct what they can. For how rental applications work, the important move is to notice the chain from first signal to final effect. A person who catches this early can respond before clear reasons help applicants correct what they can becomes harder to reverse. Rental applications affects trust because expectations are involved. A simple how rental applications work case is this. Documents should be protected. Applications contain private financial and identity information. Renters should submit through trustworthy channels. That sequence explains why how rental applications work can grow even when the first moment looks small. For how rental applications work, the real sequence matters more than the most dramatic detail. Rental applications works differently for different people. How rental applications work appears when viewing the property is still important. Approval does not mean the unit is right for the renter. The application process should not replace inspection. The early sign matters in how rental applications work because it can change cost, trust, timing, or emotional meaning. That difference matters because the application process should not replace inspection is often where the pain or cost is felt. Rental applications should be checked before money or emotion is committed. One ordinary how rental applications work version is that speed can pressure bad decisions. A hot rental market may make applicants rush. Rushing can lead to missed clauses or ignored red flags. The pattern in how rental applications work is easier to handle when the first signal is noticed instead of dismissed. The situation is easier to judge when rushing can lead to missed clauses or ignored red flags is treated as a likely effect, not a mystery. Rental applications becomes easier to manage when records are clear. Consider the moment when final lease review comes after approval. The written lease controls the actual rights and duties. Renters should read it even if the application felt simple. The answer in how rental applications work is usually found in the cause, not in the label people attach afterward. A person who catches this early can respond before renters should read it even if the application felt simple becomes harder to reverse. Rental applications requires a specific next step rather than a vague hope. How rental applications work becomes clearer when a strong application is organized and truthful. Clear documents, realistic budget, and responsive communication reduce uncertainty. Professional presentation can matter in a competitive market. Once the cause is named in how rental applications work, the response can fit the situation more closely. For how rental applications work, the real sequence matters more than the most dramatic detail. Rental applications matters because the result is felt in daily life. In how rental applications work, notice when rental applications work by turning a landlord a Euro-S risk question into evidence. The process can feel invasive, but its purpose is to predict payment, care, and fit. A renter who understands the process can prepare without guessing. The link between those pieces is what makes how rental applications work useful in real life. That difference matters because a renter who understands the process can prepare without guessing is often where the pain or cost is felt.